Obviously, I've already told you what I'm hoping to achieve today. I have beautiful Tori here. Actually, I spoke to her on Instagram about wanting to like recreate this vibe that we did in 2020, which I put on my stories, and I love it so much. So, is that okay with you?
Of course.
Oh, good.
I don't care what you do.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of my goal, my inspiration for today. I guess if I look at that, the couple of things that straight away, like now I've seen Tori, I haven't seen her for a while. So straight away, a couple of things that I'm like, oh, okay, am I going to be able to do that today? Is there's a little bit of dry, broken hair around here. Actually, she had that last time she was here as well. So some of this hair is a little fragile, but it's been a long time since we foiled it, and I am familiar with Tori and her hair, so I feel comfortable that I know how much lightening I can do in her hair. But yeah, I think this area here is straight away, I'm like, okay, I'm going to need to be careful here. So maybe I might not be able to 100% achieve those results today. So I guess obviously, you would have heard me a little bit speaking that through downstairs with Kalisha this morning. Just always talking through about condition and setting the expectations for what we're going to achieve. So that's my goal. But Tori, I don't know if I'm going to get 100% there today. So I don't know if we're going to 100% get there today, but I'm still going to create something amazing. And also because of what I just said, I think it's a really good idea for me to do the K18 again. I feel like it's always a good idea to do the K18. Just to, just give a little bit of extra strength, particularly around there. And just so you know, we don't put this in so we can push the hair any further. We just put it in for some extra protection. All right. Like most people, she's got quite a lot of strength and weight through the back, but then it's through that front area where a little damage and a little bit more sparse, right? So super comfortable with the lightening through here. But I can you see that layer? Isla, your eye will get trained to see things like this straight away. So straight away, I look at Tori's hair, okay, healthy hair, strong hair. Here I can see, right, existing blonde, existing damage under that dark. And this is where we get caught out because we go, oh, it's brown. It's fine. But underneath all that, lots of history, lots of previous lightning. And that's where we've got to be careful, right? Because those ends, can you see how it's flighty? See that flightiness? That is a big warning sign to it's just going be careful. And because previously Tori had this technique where we did the top deck. So we had a lighter brown on the top and a darker brown, and it was quite dark underneath and it was quite light on top. So she had a service done where it was like all foiled up here and then it was dark underneath. And during the process of trying to achieve that color, there was a little bit of damage. Yeah. So we all know obviously that was a long time ago, but the effects of damaged hair, it lasts for a long time. So that's what I mean. You'll very quickly learn to pick that and know straight away, because your client obviously is not going to know that. They're going to be like, I haven't bleached my hair for ages. It's fine, right? But we know, well, it's not. Yeah. Cool. Okay, Isla, I'm mixing my 9 levels of lift. Probably could use 7 actually, because we're not actually wanting to be blonde, but I prefer this bleach. So I'm going to use that. I'm mixing it with 10 vol. Obviously, we know Kevin Murphy, and I won't keep saying it every time, it's gentle. If it wasn't as gentle, I maybe would even drop this even a little lower. So obviously you know what my goal is today. How would you tackle that? How would you achieve that color? If someone showed you that color and you had this canvas, what would you think to do?
I would still do.
Yeah, perfect. So yes, all correct. The only thing is I'm going to work with a lot of slicing here, Alicia. I don't know where I'm going to. I'll go. Okay, so I'm going to work with a lot of slices through here. Reason being because we're covering all of this over. So they're not going to be thick slices, but if I do the slices, it will just give this really nice strength, so that those shimmers of color come through really nicely once I put, because my plan is to put a level 5, 6 over the top. So I really am aiming to not have blonde, not have balayage, just have that beautiful shimmery brown. Yeah, it's so pretty. So yes, we don't need to overfoil it, but I do want to put quite a bit in. Yep. So I am starting at starting at the back, starting with 10 volt, and yes, I am going to the roots with my foils. Obviously, because it's not a blonde again, and we are covering over it, I don't need to be like really anal about it going, you know, right in super close.
Yeah.
I do, you know that I love a nice fine foil, but I am I'm not going so fine through here like I would usually, because we want to build a bit of something in her hair, you know? So if I go too baby fine, I think it's going to get lost amongst this kind of thick, heavy hair that we have going on back here.
Yeah.
All right? So always when we're working through this back little section, this is where you can space out just a little bit more as well, right? Yeah, because this is such a thick, heavy part of people's hair.
Yeah.
Once I put all of these in, I'm actually going to go back and just around that very base, I'm going to just tip out a little bit, just so that I get a few, I guess, pops.
With the 10 volt?
Yeah. On super healthy hair, we're wrapping it up and we're building that color up so it all gets lightened. When I've got fragile ends, if I can't leave them out, I'm just going a little gentler on it. I guess it's so that the saturation isn't as heavy, right? Because it's when they get, it's almost like sometimes these ends get more. See how I'm just very lightly dusting. I'm not, and then, yes, that's a good way of putting it. I'm not suffocating that hair with color. And so my plan was, let me tell you, I was just going to go through with the foils, but just as I was going through, I actually remembered when I did that color that I did a bit of tipping out, and I was like, I actually think I need a bit of tipping out so that I have a bit more boldness through the bottom, because that's going to be beautiful. So I'm quickly adapting and going, yep, I'm going to go back now and just add that. So even though I'm not wanting to get any like a crazy amount of lift, I do want my overall result. It's tricky with this because I don't want her hair to be like, I love it when Tori's hair is like, it's kind of contradictory, but it's like a cool warm. It's hard to explain, and to create that we actually do need quite a good lift, because if it's too gold then I can't get the cool warm. Yeah. So that's why I've chosen with this tip out to not grab a bunch of hair and back comb it. I'm choosing to do the work of going through individually, because if I choose a big bit and back comb, it's gonna ruin everything. Yep, because it will be gold. Yeah. But if I was like, I'm doing like a golden balayage, then I would do it that way. So you can see I'm going between each foil, and I'm just picking. I'm not going to go through all of the foils, of course. Okay, what have I just done there? Yeah, I got tempted. I got tempted, and then I was like, no. But also, what have I done here underneath there? I just skipped a whole big chunk. Well, yes. Yeah, so because I want some depth in there, right? But also, yeah, I mean, I guess a little bit of time saving, but not really. It's more that it's not necessary for me to go and lighten all of that because this is not a blonde or a balayage. So it's good to leave that out because that's going to sit underneath this. So I'm hugging it. I'm sandwiched it. So we're going to have the lightness around the front. So when we, right? But I'm going to have this lightness on the top for when her hair sits over the top. So really that hair is actually going to be quite hidden amongst all of this. So yeah, I don't need to spend the time going through and lightening all of that. Nothing really different through here, Isla. I'm going to keep going with my 10 volt because this is probably the area where I felt I could see the most damage and the most existing light. So through this area, I'm actually going to switch to doing a very fine weave. But that's really the only change. And I guess in a way, it doesn't really matter what my layout of my foils is here because this is all getting covered over. Anytime you angle a foil, it's going to have a softer fall, right? And so, yeah, that is kind of like the thinking behind it, but also it just kind of makes sense for me to like fan around because I'm kind of like following on with that section. And I just hate going down and doing that little triangle. But yeah, there's a time and place for everything, isn't there? But yeah, it does work. I kind of find this a little tricky to explain. Sometimes some of the things we do, it's hard to tell you why, you know, you just have to figure it out on your own. Like, oh, I get it. Like, that's why you do that. Sometimes when we do less, we actually get a better result. Even if it isn't quite what we wanted, but the fact that the hair is so healthy, it obviously just makes everything better. So yes, the point is that we think we're going to so we think we are going to disappoint people by telling them that they can't have something. And we are to a certain degree, but we're going to disappoint them and ourselves so much more if we don't tell them and we try and achieve something because we have good intentions of trying to give people what they want. But if we end up with a mess, essentially, shouldn't say that, but if we end up with, damaged hair, or we end up having to like color over anyway, or like, all the scenarios that can happen when we push things where we know we shouldn't, then actually no one is happy. No one is happy. So it's good to learn that from the start. I actually learned this from our TK education. Not learned it, I already knew it, but it just was a great reminder for me. This hair is damaged and broken. Let's just leave it out. Sorry, I feel like when you do like when you're a model, you just like get all this inside information that you maybe weren't wanting. Now listen, Isla, fragile through here. It can handle a little bit. All right, so I'm just thinking to myself now, I'm like, okay, I really would like to put a lot of foils in here, but I'm not going to. Okay, I'm still going to keep with my 10 volt. I think I'm going to keep with my 10 volt through the whole thing. Yeah, as I've been going through, I'm like, you know what, if I hit this with 20, I think it's too much. Because you just nailed it before when you said you foil back on the angle and it sits nicer, right? Usually I would be pivoting up and around, but because of the result I'm trying to achieve today, I'm not really worried about getting a perfect pivot around, because as long as they're sitting on a bit of an angle, it's going to fall nicely. Through my fringe here, because I know this is great because this is really healthy, this hair. Do you know why? It's been cut short. So all that bleaching and like where those dead ends were, that's gone. So I can actually be free to put some lovely foils through here and not be worried. So I guess a tip, like when you are dealing with hair that's got some areas of breakage or some fragile areas, is to focus on the areas where you can build it up where it is healthy and utilize those areas. Just to like refresh it and just to give them a lift of their brunette color. It's actually a really nice thing to do. This is a great option to, like, I don't know, just change it up for a brunette. Like Tori will say that, like, she always gets bored of a brunette, but really we always come back to a brunette because it looks best. So, but also like it can help with anyone if they're like a brunette color and their hair's really healthy because they, you know, they only have so many colors. Can help to just like plump out and get a bit of volume in there as well by putting foil work through. Sometimes that's a nice reason to do it too. So I'm on to my last section, of course. So I'm doing the same thing as I'm doing there, but what I would like to do, because I just have this gut feeling that I need to check the back. So I'm going to check that before I go any further. So the hair is fine. The hair is, it's all good. I would have liked to do some tipping here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave that and just be happy with the amount of oils that we've got there. That's going to come out beautiful still. And then obviously I've been able to go a little bit stronger through this back section. I'm keeping my eye on these foils just to make sure that the condition is okay. I don't really know if I have anything else to say actually now that I'm thinking of it. Do you have any questions for me about this first step?
No, I think I asked.
Yeah, you asked all your questions. So let's have a look. So this is a really good example of where we treat the back and the front different. Yeah. It's so often, like I remember I used to get so overwhelmed with a full head, like what we were just saying. Oh my God, full head, like this is just a lot. But I think the best thing you can do is break it down into two halves. Yeah. I've got to deal with the back, and then I've got to deal with the front. And I feel like that really helps to calm you. So try doing that. And also why that's a good reason is because so often what we're doing at the front actually needs to be different to what we're doing at the back. Because you can see obviously here that through here we've tipped out, we've done some sort of different kind of work, and then through the front I've treated that a little bit differently based on her hair. I weaved. Yeah. So I sliced a little bit through the sides, and I sliced a little bit through this fringe bit. Actually, I can't even remember, lol.
Yeah, you did.
I did a combination of things through there. Yeah. I did actually go into auto highlight a little bit. But then all through this circle here, I fine weaved. And most of the time you should do that, because that will ensure just a little bit softer, but through or underneath of the slicing, a little bit more strength in it. Yay, cool. I'm going to shut up now. I need to shut up. I've got, are you eating a Kransky? I love that. You do look so cute, just like over there. Hi. Kalisha, obviously you've missed the start, but you'll be able to watch the video and piece it all together, so that's fine. So I ended up taking Tori's hair off after around 20 minutes because I didn't feel comfortable to leave it any longer, and I'm glad I did. What I would say the problem with taking it all off a little bit early is that, as you can see, look how warm we are. Yeah, so now I have to think it's, yeah.
Like I can't see.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to see this. My goal here is a beautiful brunette with like some shimmering kind of foils through it. Not texture, not balayage, but just, that nice bit of, what do you call it? What would you call it?
Contrast?
No contrast. It's shimmer. The best way to say is a shimmer. Yeah, so obviously, like I said, I wasn't comfortable to leave it any longer because of the ends. But the result of that has meant that those last foils that I put in and those foils where her hair was natural and a bit darker have gone they're quite warm. So they really could have been on, they needed to be on for a bit longer. But that's okay because my number one priority is taking care of the condition of Tori's hair. So now I adjust and go, okay, does that mean that I need to go a bit darker? Yeah, pretty much. That means that maybe I can't leave it as light as I had hoped to, and maybe the final result is just going to be slightly warmer. Yeah. But overall, if we just have a look, it's actually perfect of what I wanted it to look like. So now I'm going to put my target color over the top of this, and we're going to have a beautiful shimmery brown. So the process isn't particularly, I guess it's actually pretty straightforward, this kind of thing, because it's not like I need to go in and like section this all out so I've got a face frame or anything like that. I'm literally just going to go in now and apply an all over color, essentially. Tone this with. Like what level, let's just say what level, let's just go with levels. So what level would you put on her roots? Yeah. So I could go to a 6. I reckon if I got a little bit more lift, I might have gone to the 6. But because I got that warmth in the front, I'm going to drop it to a 5. But I actually had brought up a 5 because I had thought that I would lean towards a 5 on the roots. And then I'm not trying to create like darker to lighter, but I definitely don't want my ends to go darker, and I definitely don't want them to, as in I don't want them to go darker than here. And I definitely don't want my ends to feel exactly the same color. So just this ever so slight, so just in my opinion, just a half a shade darker than the roots is going to give you to the eye a color that pretty much looks the same all over. But to us, we would be able to see, does that make sense? Because if we put a 5 here to here, she would feel it would go too dark because of the difference in the porosities and yeah. So those ends would grab and go potentially, yeah. So my reason for adjusting the formulas is because I'm dealing with a different type of hair, not necessarily because I want different colors. Really explain it. I'm actually just going to put a little, like maybe like an inch or 2 inches of the 6.71 because it's just such a beautiful color. So let's just put a little bit of that in, and I'm going to use the formula on my ends is going to have some of this in it. So that's just by putting it in my roots, it's going to tie the roots and the ends together. I always do that. It's such a good tip with most of the things you're doing. Whatever your formula is for your ends, if you just put a couple of grams in your root color, it marries everything together. Yes. Can you imagine why? Right, and we're using the 3.5, the 1%, and we have no scales. You guys will have scales. So, like I was saying, there's nothing particularly special about the way I'm going to apply this. I'm just applying it like I was putting an all-over semi on. Okay? She knows more than me. I just like the look of it. Low. Nah. I think, honestly, I just looked at it and I thought I just have a gut feeling that's going to be really pretty. And sometimes that's why I do what I do. Doesn't always have to have a logical reason. We're like creative people. So sometimes it's just like a gut feeling and you can't exactly explain why you're doing it. You just feel like doing a bit of that is going to be really nice. Sometimes that's how we roll.
I think
most of the time.
6 7 beautiful, but I think it needs to, if you're gonna want exactly what's on the swatch, I think it always needs a little bit of something else.
The 671?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, shishka. Sorry about that. All right, so remember I said, I'm not doing anything particularly special with my application here, but I am just ever so slightly bringing the front not as far down, just ever so slightly. So it's not like I'm leaving it out, but when I'm tapping it, I'm just tapping it that little bit less than the rest.
And what's that
with my root color. Yeah. So anyway, back to my ends. I'm going to do the 571. I'm going to use some 6.2, and I'm actually going to just dilute my formula a little bit. So I was thinking about putting some clear, but instead of putting clear, I'm just going to just slightly dilute it. So do it 1 + 2 and just a little bit extra. Yep. Yeah. Ali's huge on clear. She uses it all the time, actually.
Yeah.
We're all so different. You just figure it out, trial and error. I've never been a clear girl. So there you go. Great. We're all different. With my sections, they are pretty fine sections because I don't want to miss any blonde. Like the worst thing that I guess, yeah, the most annoying thing that could happen after I rinse my color here is that I've missed a little pocket of blonde because I put so much foils in here. So that's kind of like one of the things that I'm at risk of making an error is not getting a coverage on this foil work now. So that's why I'm doing very fine sections. So I said I was applying it like a semi, but I'm definitely like it's more like a grey retouch. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it. I think that we don't use this enough in brunettes. So we need to do this more. Yeah. Creating some more fun brunette colors. I think that would be something I would love for all of our team to work on a little bit. I think we love our blondes and we love our coppers. Yeah, but we're probably not as creative with our brunette colors as I think we could be. Yeah. I think there's a lot you can do with a brunette, and we tend to just stick with like an all over, don't we? But yeah, I was also thinking, I'm also still learning Kevin Murphy, don't forget. So there may be some tweaking. It's already looking good? Oh, thanks, Isla. Any questions for me, guys? Guess what? I'm going to point out an error here for you. So I just want to show you this. Look, this is what happens. Again, Tori, you get all this inside information that you would never know otherwise. But have a look. So I've got a bleed there.
Yeah.
I never get bleeding. That's not true. I every now and then get it, but it's very rare. So what has happened there? So what would have happened there? That would have been like my section, and then that has come down, and the next one has bled over the top of it. So that's why we can see that little gap there. It's not a problem because it's there, and because I'm toning this out. So you, Tori, will not see that at all. And by the end result, I maybe would be able to see the faintest. So it's really not a problem. But if that was in a different area on her head, it might be. So I just thought I'd show you that because, you know, it happens and then we have to try and fix it. Okay, so this is going to be on for 20 minutes.